Hello there. I'm Dr. Diallo, an academic coach and a test prep expert with Study.com. Are you currently preparing to take the Praxis ParaPro 1755 reading assessment? This assessment covers the skills in knowledge, identifying central ideas, and distinguishing supporting evidence. If so, you've come to the right place because I'm here and will walk you through several sample test questions as well as other test taking strategies. Let's go ahead and get started by taking a look at problem number 1. Please take just a moment to pause and read this passage to yourself, and when you are done, unpause and we'll go over the questions and answer choices. The question says, the main idea of the passage is focused on A. Degrading any need for scientific technologies, B. Identifying the different experimental processes in science, C. Emphasizing the importance of exploring science without equipment, or D, encouraging future scientists to continually conduct observations and experiments. Well, in the question, we notice that the key word here is main idea. So we're wanting to think about the entire passage and what the main idea is of the entire selection. Well, the passage focuses on the idea that while laboratories are important to science, so is a creative mind that does not rely on fancy equipment. Because of this, the author emphasizes that science should be explored by all means, equipment or not. For A, degrading any need for scientific technologies, well, this is incorrect because the passage does not degrade the need of scientific technology or equipment in general. It acknowledges that while high-tech laboratories are useful, they are not essential for scientific discovery. The author does not argue against technology itself, but rather emphasizes the point that great science can still be done without it. For answer choice B, identifying the different experimental processes in science, well, this is also incorrect because the passage is not focused on explaining various experimental processes in science. While it mentions experiments, the main focus is on the use or lack thereof of elaborate scientific equipment and how it impacts students' resourcefulness and inventiveness. The passage does not go into depth on specific experimental processes. And then for C, emphasizing the importance of exploring science without equipment, this could very well be the correct answer choice. So let's look at the last answer choice before we make our decision. Encouraging future scientists to continually conduct observations and experiments. Well, this option is partly correct, but not the best answer. While the passage does encourage continued study and experimentation, even without access to large laboratories, its main point is about the value of doing science with simpler tools rather than emphasizing continual observations and experiments as a broad goal. The focus is more on the method and mindset of scientific exploration with minimal resources. Therefore, answer choice C, emphasizing the importance of exploring science without equipment, is the correct answer choice. For question 2, once again, please pause, take a moment to read the passage, and then we'll come back together to go over the answer choices in question. The question says, the author primarily uses which of the following types of details to support the main idea in this passage? A, reasons and explanations, B, testimonials and quotes, C, definitions and vocabulary, or D, facts and evidence. Notice that it talks about the author primarily using what types of details to support the main idea of the passage. So again, we're focused on the main idea and then which details that the author focuses on. Well, the author primarily uses reasons and explanations as a supporting details in this passage. Reasons and explanations are not necessarily factual, but they do help to persuade the reader in one direction. In this passage, the author explains how taking the recommended actions will help make flying an easier process. So this may be the best answer choice. However, let's take a look at the other answer choices before committing to an answer. B, testimonials and quotes. Well, this option is incorrect because the passage does not include any testimonials, personal accounts or experiences, or quotes from other people, so this can't be correct. C, definitions of vocabulary. While the passage does some vocabulary related to flying, it doesn't focus on defining terms or explaining specific vocabulary words, so C is not the correct answer choice either. D, facts and evidence. Well, although the passage includes useful advice, it doesn't provide verifiable facts or evidence like statistics or studies to back up the claims being made. The information is more general, advice than evidence-based fact. So therefore, the best answer choice for this question is going to be A, reasons and explanations. For problem number 3, just like the last question, please pause, read the passage, and we can continue looking at the answer choices and questions. The question says, which of the following is suggested by the mention of untold stories? A, midnight likes to be read to. B, midnight is well known in this land. C, midnight is a good storyteller. Or D, midnight has a mysterious past. Well, you'll notice in the question, they make reference to the mention of untold stories, and they want to know exactly what does this mean in context of how it's used in the story. Well, for answer choice A, midnight likes to be read to, there's no evidence really in the passage that would suggest that midnight enjoys being read to. The mention of untold stories refers to a mysterious past, not a preference for reading. Answer choice B, midnight is well known in this land. The passage doesn't really indicate that midnight is well known. Instead, it does emphasize his grace and power without specifically stating his popularity. And for answer choice C, midnight is a good storyteller. Well, while the passage actually speaks of untold stories, it does not suggest that midnight tells stories himself. It implies that there are secrets and tales associated with him, but it doesn't directly describe him as a storyteller. The mention of untold stories implies that midnight has a mysterious past. The phrase untold stories suggests that midnight has experiences that are unknown to most, adding an element of mystery to midnight's character. So therefore, the best answer choice for this question is going to be D, midnight has a mysterious past. For problem number 4, once again, please pause, read the passage, and unpause to discuss the question and answer choices. The question is, what is the main idea of this passage? A, fairy tales in every culture are drastically different. B, there are fairy tales in every culture, including Japanese culture. C, Alice in Wonderland is a popular fairy tale. Or D, fairy tales are for children. Once again, when we look at this question, we notice that it's asking us for the main idea of this specific passage. The main idea of this passage is the message that the author is conveying. And here, the author introduces fairy tales with the purpose of moving the discussion to the fairy tales of Japanese culture. A, fairy tales in every culture are drastically different. Well, this passage does not make a direct comparison of how drastically different fairy tales are across cultures. It simply highlights that different cultures, including Japan, have their own fairy tales. So A is not the correct answer choice. For B, there are fairy tales in every culture, including Japanese culture. This could definitely be a possible answer. However, let's be sure to check out answer choices C and D first. For C, Alice in Wonderland is a popular fairy tale. Well, while Alice in Wonderland is mentioned in the passage, it is only as an example of a well-known illustrated book from the Western world. The main focus is not on the popularity of Alice in Wonderland, but rather on the global presence of fairy tales. So C is not the correct answer. And then for D, fairy tales are for children. Well, although fairy tales are indeed for children, the passage is more focused on the idea of different cultures, such as Japan, contributing to the tradition of fairy tales rather than merely stating that fairy tales are for children. It is for this reason, then, that B, there are fairy tales in every culture, including Japanese culture. This is the correct answer choice. Well, hopefully you found that video to be informative and helpful. For more practice, check out our Praxis ParaPro 1755 playlist. And for even more detailed practice, strategies, and customizable study materials, head on over to study.com and check out our Praxis ParaPro test prep course. Those who use study.com boast a 92% passing rate. Our courses include full-length exams, hundreds of authentic practice questions, and short targeted video lessons specifically developed based on the latest testing updates. With all of our resources, you'll know exactly what to expect on test day. Like this video and subscribe to this channel to get all of the latest Praxis testing updates. And please leave your questions and your success stories in the comments. We would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching, and happy studying.